It's time for your Low Country real estate market update. It's the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Brian is one of the top 1% real estate agents in Charleston. Find him online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-345-1273. Now, broadcasting from the WTMA studios, here's your host, Brian Beatty.
Good morning, Charleston. You're listening to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. I'm your host, Brian Beatty. Thanks for joining me this morning, where over the next hour, we're going to talk about real estate here in the Low Country area. I've got a lot to cover over the next hour. If this is your first time tuning in, let me just give you an idea of what this program's all about. We talk about national, regional, local news. We apply that to us here in the Low Country so that if you're thinking about buying, selling, or investing in real estate, you're an informed consumer. And of course, I rely on my experience and my stories as somebody that's been selling real estate for a little over a decade in the Charleston area, sold about 1,000 homes, sold about 200 homes last year. We've already done over 100 transactions so far this year on my team. So we rely on that experience as well to help you guys better understand this real estate market. So if at any point in time you'd like to reach out to me, you're thinking about doing something in real estate, buying, selling, investing, just general questions, feel free to call my cell phone number. That number is 843-345-1273. Again, that's 843-345-1273. Or you can visit my website, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. You can look more about who we are and what we do, what we sell, see our current listings, search the MLS, anything for sale in the Charleston area you can find on my website. And if you'd like, you can contact me through that website. Tell me a little bit more about what you're looking to do, and we'd love the opportunity to help. So here's what we have planned over the next hour. Zillow is in the hot seat again. And if you've listened to my show for the past over 5 years, I believe now that I've been doing this, I talk about Zillow not too often, but they do come up from time to time. So I want to tell you what's going on there, especially as it relates to the Zillow Zestimate and a new product, or a feature rather, that they've unraveled, which is now called Zillow Instant Offers. You can essentially sell your home immediately to a group of investors. So I want to talk about that. I want to talk about as-is sales for a while. What does that actually mean? What does it not mean? How do you need to protect yourself contractually if you're a buyer or a seller as it relates to an as-is sale? And then finally, we don't talk about this too often because it's just not a huge part of our market anymore. I mean, it kind of is, but not so much so as it was, several years ago, and that's home flipping. You've got several people out there that are still buying properties at good enough prices to fix them up, put them back on the market, and make a bunch of money. So I want to tell you some do's and don'ts as it relates to home flipping, and I think from that you can extrapolate some things that you might take away, even if you're thinking about just doing some renovations to your home. So some things to think about there. So that's what we've got planned over the next hour. Again, if you want to reach out to me, you're thinking about buying, selling, or investing in real estate, feel free to call me. My number is 345-1273. Again, 345-1273, and the website is listingsincharleston.com. So let's talk about Zillow. Zillow, for me, by the way, just kind of get this out there, is kind of like the best friend and the worst enemy. Zillow, for those of you that don't know, I would be surprised if you've never heard the word Zillow before, but it's where 3 out of 4 people start their home search online. They command about 300 million unique visitors on a monthly basis. I think second to them is Trulia at around maybe 220 million. And then Realtor.com is in third place at, I think, around 180 million unique visitors per month. But Zillow owns Trulia, so really they own the market share. And so I've talked at length over the past several years about Zillow's estimate, the Zestimate, what they feel your home is worth. And so Zillow is now offering $1 million award to the person or team who can improve the Zestimate algorithm. And this came out. This news came out about a week after the announcement that Zillow was now involved in a class action lawsuit over their proprietary home pricing tool, the Zestimate, which this suit that's been filed by the Suburban Chicago Home Builders Association argues that the home buyers are viewing the Zestimate as if it were a formal appraisal, and the attorney behind this whole thing was. Her name is Barbara Anderson. She was previously suing Zillow over what she claimed to be a really low Zestimate on her home. And then she found a bunch of other people that felt the same way and filed a class action lawsuit. So in that news release, this is what I've done a bunch of research, read a ton of articles on this. Zillow said that, and to quote, to homeowners, sellers, and buyers, the Zestimate home valuation remains an important data point. Combined with other information like recent home sales and the guidance of real estate professionals, the Zestimate helps consumers make smarter financial decisions. So here's what's interesting about Zillow's Zestimate. Zillow is claiming that their error rate nationwide on average is about 5%, which they believe to be incredibly low. And they acknowledge that the tool can be improved. And so that's the average, 5%. So here's a perfect example. I bought my house about 2 years ago in Mount Pleasant in a very highly sought after segment of our market, which is waterfront property. And so interestingly, when my Zestimate, I purchased my home and my current Zestimate is actually lower than what I bought it for 2 years ago. So when I bought my house 2 years ago, it appraised for like 10% more than what I actually purchased it for. So the difference between fair market value at that time and my current Zestimate is off by like 20%. But here's the kicker. Having said all of that, I've done a ton of remodeling to my house, which means that my current Zestimate is actually off by about 60%. Now, let's pretend that I'm an average consumer with no real knowledge of how Zillow's Zestimate works. If I went onto their website and saw their Zestimate for my house, and need I remind you that I know a thing or two about my own home's value, I would be totally crushed. I mean, I might not even pursue an interest in selling my home because I was being led to believe I simply couldn't based on Zillow's Zestimate. And that's part of the whole problem here. And so that's an extreme example, but it applies to so many people, especially those that have renovated their home, which is where Zillow is and will always be flawed. They don't know anything about the improvements to your home unless you tell them. But regardless of that data, they don't know anything about the condition of your home, which is why they give you that buffer of about 5% or so. And don't get me wrong, 5% can sound low, but 5% is a lot of money. I mean, especially as the value of your home goes up. I mean, 5% off $1 million home is $50,000. $50,000 is a lot of money. $5,000 is a lot of money when you're selling a $100,000 home. So, again, interestingly, about a week after this class action lawsuit filed against Zillow rolls out, they unleash a new feature called Zillow's Instant Offers. And so I definitely want to talk about that, and I'm going to take some time to do so because it's fairly lengthy. But here's what I would like to say about the Zestimate, really, just point blank. If you guys want to know what the value of your home is, there are ways of going about it that have very little involvement on your end to get a much more accurate opinion of value. Here's a perfect example. Go on my website, listingsincharleston.com, and when you go to the contact page, just fill in some information there, and then in the message, tell me things like what kind of flooring you have, what your kitchen looks like. You can even send me some photos, and I can give you an appraisal, quote unquote. It's really not an appraisal because I'm not an appraiser. It's an opinion of value on your home, and I promise you I can get within a few percentage points, certainly better than 5%. But the challenge is Zillow is saying 5% discrepancy is their average, but there are plenty of properties that are off by way more than that. I mean, when you look at this one article that I read about this class action lawsuit, I mean, they had photos of properties where the Zestimate was $189 and it's on the market and under contract for $369. Again, an extreme example, but think about what I just said about my own home. You really just can't trust it because you have to understand that in order for Zillow to become more accurate, they have to have all the information about your home's current condition and the upgrades that you've done to it. And there's only so many fields that you can fill in on this website. And that's why there's always going to be this large percentage of error as it relates to a Zestimate. It's really just a tool, quite frankly, for Zillow to then guide you through the process of inquiring about the, process of selling your home, and then they sell leads to real estate agents in the form of a seller lead. So I pay for these leads, and whenever somebody expresses an interest in the value of their home, I receive their contact information and I reach out to them. Hey, I know that you saw the Zestimate, but let me give you a more accurate number. And so what I just said plays into what I want to talk about next, which is Zillow's instant offers. So stick around. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA. Remember, feel free to reach out to me if you're thinking about selling your home this year, or if you just want information on what your current home is worth, you want to know what's going on in your neighborhood, I can set you up with all kinds of information at whatever sort of frequency you want to receive it in. Listingsincharleston.com or 843-345-1273. Stick around, Charleston. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA. We will be right back.
More stimulating talk on real estate matters with Brian Beatty next on 1250 WTMA. WTMA. Now, here's more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, Charleston. Thanks again for tuning in to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA. I'm Brian Beatty, your host. I've been doing this program for about 5 years now. I've sold about 1,000 homes in the Charleston area. Already done over 100 transactions so far in 2017. Would love to earn your business, but always appreciate you tuning into the show to listen to what I have to say, take something from it. I try to make the show as educational as I possibly can. It's not a sales pitch, but if you're thinking about making a move, buying, selling, investing in real estate, feel free to give me a call. We'd love to earn your business. My number is 843-345-1273. That's my private cell phone, not on air, 345-1273. Or you can go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com, where you can learn more about myself, my team, how we market our properties, what we've sold, testimonials, all that fun stuff. You can even check your home's value straight through that website, by the way. But let me continue this discussion about Zillow, because it really has been, it's what every single real estate agent is talking about right now. It is running rampant in my community. And so I just talked about this whole issue that Zillow has where they're being sued in a class action lawsuit over their Zestimates. And so a few days after that lawsuit was filed and made public, they decided to roll out a new feature called Zillow's Instant Offers, which is a pilot program that they're running. And they're running it in Las Vegas and they're running it in Orlando, Florida. And this new feature that they're unraveling is coming with the promise that a home sale transaction can be completed in as little as a week. So what it does is it allows prospective home sellers to receive an all-cash offer from a hand-selected group of, I think, about 15 of large private investors, along with a side-by-side comparison, or CMA, a comparative market analysis, from a local real estate agent. So homeowners who accept one of the offers are encouraged by Zillow to use an agent in the process, and they're trying to do the right thing, quote unquote, but you're not required to use a real estate agent if you don't want to. So your options, really your three options are as follows. If you are involved in this pilot program that Zillow is running, you can either accept the offer and sell directly to an investor. You can accept the offer and then use a real estate agent to manage the process and close the transaction. That would be, you could consider that to be something like transaction brokerage. Or you can just reject the offer and do nothing with it, or you can list the property on the MLS with the real estate agent, a full-service real estate agent. So here's how this works. Let me just take you through these steps. Homeowners that are participating in this instant offers program are going to do the following. First, they're going to go on, they're going to sign up for the instant offers, and they're going to provide several photos of their house. They're going to fill out key information about the property, which are things like the home type, bedrooms, bathrooms, features, roof type, age, flooring, remodeling, painting history, appliances, HOA, all that stuff. Step number 2 is that they're going to send this home description to like 15 different Wall Street investors, basically is what they are. They're private investment groups. And they're either licensed as brokers or they use a third-party broker license. And the property details also get sent to real estate agents that are going to then pay to appear in those specific in that specific program, the Zillow Instant Offers, through Zillow. They're going to pay to receive inquiries from people that want to participate in the Zillow Instant Offers program. And those agents are going to provide them with the side-by-side CMA, a comparative market analysis. So the investors and the agents have 24 hours to either submit their analysis and or submit an offer, and that offer expires in 5 days. So while that's happening, Zillow gets, the local real estate agent on the phone, they call them, they email them, they say, hey, we have someone that's participating in the instant offers program, reach out to them, provide them with a CMA. But the decision to use an agent, it's ultimately up to the homeowner who can move forward with the transaction without one, they can hire one, so on and so forth. The investor then provides an overview of all of the fees they're going to charge, which is really interesting because, when we do our CMA as a real estate agent, we tell you what we think it's worth. We also provide you with a breakdown of all the expenses you're going to incur when you sell the home. Commission, taxes, attorney's fees, any other fees that you might need to pay throughout the course of the transaction, something called deed stamps. And so usually, obviously, the commission is usually 6%. Well, I'm looking at this article straight from Zillow, and they've got an example here of an offer from this investment group with a 9% service fee attached to it. A 9% service fee, which is obviously more than a 6% commission. So from there, the offer, the homeowners obviously have the choice. They can accept the offer, they can make it a binding agreement, and then they can close in 10 days. The only caveat here is that the investor has the ability to do a home inspection. They have 24 hours usually to do a home inspection. So they could back out, they could renegotiate the deal after they do the home inspection. And if you're just joining us, we're talking about this new program that was just rolled out by Zillow called Zillow Instant Offers, wherein you as a seller can go on their website, you can sign up, and you can receive an instant offer from a group of investors. And you can either involve a real estate agent or not. You can sell your home in as quickly as 10 days with a cash offer. And so let me tell you how the industry is receiving this. Let me just give you a few different comments from the industry, from the real estate industry. So number one would be that, the sellers that are going to take these kinds of offers are likely desperate to sell, and they're probably not the type of people that would list with a real estate agent anyways. I've been lucky enough to be in the right place at the right time, and I have purchased properties off market simply by being, again, in the right place at the right time. Maybe it was a lead that came in. Maybe it was somebody that knew that I sold real estate, but I'm also an investor. I purchase homes to rent. I purchase homes to flip. I do private money lending to other investors to purchase and flip homes. So I'm in real estate in several different ways, and I was just in the right place at the right time. So one argument would be, look, the sellers are going to take this kind of offer. We know it's going to be low. There's no way an investor is going to pay fair market value for your house. And then when you tack on the service fee that they're projecting, I'm going to use the example of 9%. Financially, it's a fairly unattractive offer. What is attractive to the seller is the no nonsense, quick closing. I'll give you a day to do your home inspection, but outside of that, when you tell me that we've got a deal, no backing out. So that is the solace for the seller. That's why they would engage in this program. So to me, frankly, I just think it's kind of stupid to go this route when you could still hire a real estate agent, and rather than drastically undercutting the value of your home and paying a service fee, just pay a real estate commission, pay a real estate agent a commission, slightly underprice your home, and given our market, our Charleston market, you're going to sell your home quickly. You underprice your home by a few percentage points, and that home is gone. We've sold over 100. We've done over 100 transactions this year, and obviously not every time it's the seller's strategy to underprice the property and sell it quickly, but that is a strategy of ours. And guess what happens? We get multiple offers, and it sells for fair market value anyways. The reason why they're doing this pilot program in Las Vegas and in Orlando, Florida, and I commented on this last week, there are several areas of the country that aren't even close to recovering from the recession. Charleston, if I look across the board, I would say that generally speaking, we have recovered. The prices at the height of the market are the same or better now. There are some caveats to that, of course. But for the most part, we as a market have recovered. Vegas, Orlando, several other markets, Arizona as an example, they were hit so hard by that crash that I think less than 10% of their properties are at pre-crash prices. So they've got a lot of room to improve, which is why something like this might be attractive to an investor. I don't think investors or investment groups that are, they're private investment groups, but they're out of Wall Street. They're not going to come and buy a home that and pay what it's worth. I mean, that's not an investment. So that's one angle. Now, agents, the reason why agents are in such an uproar over this, by the way, is because listings that appear on Zillow, for the most part, are provided by real estate agents. I mean, yes, you have the ability to post your home for sale by owner, and yes, you have the Make Me Move tool where you can essentially put in a price and say, hey, if someone's willing to pay this, you're welcome to contact me and I'll sell my home. But usually it's a pie in the sky price, and it's just not going to work. So the majority of the information that buyers look through on Zillow are provided to them by real estate agents. So, of course, the issue with real estate agents is that, look, Zillow is trying to cut us out. I mean, Zillow said that they would never become the middleman and practice real estate brokerage. I mean, they are not in the real estate brokerage business, but it sure seems that way when they start to manage transactions on the behalf of sellers and investors. That's the big issue right here, is that we're giving you guys this information. And by the way, in order for us to receive leads as real estate agents on the listings on Zillow, we have to pay for them. So we are paying for leads that we should otherwise be receiving, but good for Zillow because they identified a need. They created a website that has so much information on it that it's now the go-to one-stop shop to shop for real estate. My personal website will not ever compete with Zillow's. I can't create those features economically. So it makes sense for me as a real estate agent to market my homes for sale on Zillow, which is a whole separate discussion, by the way, because there's this difference between being an exclusive agent and just being an agent that appears on a list of like 3 or 4 other real estate agents. You know, when you list your home with me, I have exclusivity with my marketing, meaning there are no other real estate agents that appear on my listings. If you want information on my homes, you have to contact me. Whereas most of the listings that you see when you go on Zillow have several agents attached to it. That just means that the listing agent isn't paying for exclusivity, which is a big problem, and we can talk about that off air. I don't want to get too big into that. But most real estate brokerages right now are saying, look, let's just cut off the tap. Turn off the tap. No more sending listings to Zillow. We're not going to be taken advantage of. We're giving you guys the information because that's where the buyers are. But when you start to do our job, when you start to get into the business of real estate brokerage, then we have a problem. So I see this not ending too well. There's some caveats there that Zillow, I think, has built in or will build in that could make it problematic for people like Association of Realtors to file a class action lawsuit. But I'd be willing to bet it's coming. I don't think people are going to, especially in the real estate industry, they're just not going to receive this very well. So the bottom line is, look, if you want an immediate offer on your house, I've got all kinds of investors, and they're probably going to be more reasonable than a group of large institutional private investors. And you still have a real estate agent, a human that cares about your needs and your final destination and is going to walk you step by step through the process to ensure that your home actually sells and that you make more money. And look, the bottom line is this. Most people want to sell their home for what it is worth. This program, the Zillow Instant Offers, is for a very small percentage of the public, in my opinion. But it's a very clever way of Zillow to try and get people to find out what their home is worth and how much somebody would offer on their home, and then charge real estate agents to provide those sellers with that market analysis. So very interesting past 2 weeks for Zillow. We'll see what happens here. Again, it's a pilot program. My inclination here is that the real estate industry, of course, is not going to receive this well. They're certainly not right now. But I imagine it becoming a part of what Zillow does. And it's just something that we're going to have to overcome. And look, real estate agents are salesmen. We are salespeople. It is part of our job, and it should be inherent in our DNA to overcome objections. Overcoming the Zestimate is very simple. They just don't have all the information to give you an accurate opinion of what your home is worth. That's why you call me and you say, Brian, I want to know more about the value of my home. And I do one of two things. I either say, tell me more about your home. If you could send me some photos, that'd be great. And I'll give you a really accurate number. But the best thing to do is for me to walk through the home, assess the condition, assess market dynamics and conditions, and tell you within reason what we think your home will actually sell for, how long it will take, and then let's break down the expenses, talk about marketing, and make sure it's a good fit. So if that's something I can help you with, give me a call, 843-345-1273. Again, that's 843-345-1273, or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. Again, that's listingsincharleston.com. When we come back, kind of in the spirit of all cash offers, we're going to talk about as-is sales. What does that actually mean if you're a buyer or a seller? Stick around. We'll be right back, Charleston.
Have a real estate question? Ask Brian Beatty. Send him an email, lowcountryhomesales@gmail.com. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show is on 1250 WTMA.
The Big Talker, WTMA.
You're listening to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com.
Welcome back, Charleston. Thanks again for tuning in to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA. I always like to take a little bit of time and just say thank you to those of you that listen to this program and rely on the information within it to help shape your understanding of the real estate industry and the market, and to help set some realistic expectations if you're going to buy, sell, or invest in something. That's what this show is all about. It's about helping you become more informed and more educated so that when it comes time for you to do something, you know what's going on. You know the right questions to ask, and you have the right expectations. You know how to hire the right agent, and you know how to get what you want. So, again, I just like to say thank you to those of you that listen to this program. I always enjoy the phone calls and the ability, of course, to earn your business. So if I can help you with that, you're thinking about making a move sometime this year, give me a call, 843-345-1273. Again, that's 843-345-1273. And you can go to my website, listingsincharleston.com, and learn more about us, learn more about our marketing, see some testimonials from past clients, contact me, whatever you'd like. It's all on there, including every single real estate radio show I've ever recorded here at WTMA, minus maybe a few. So all that can be found, listingsincharleston.com. So let's kind of continue this discussion in the spirit of this Zillow Instant Offers product that I was just telling you about. Let's talk about as-is sales for a little while. So in this market, most of the time, at least, the buyer is going to give the seller the price the seller wants, since our market is slanted toward benefiting the seller rather than the buyer right now. We are in a seller's market. So it's very common in our market right now for buyers to essentially agree to pay the seller's price or very close to it, but then beat them up when it comes to things like the home inspection. So here's what some buyers are doing. They're kind of dangling the carrot of an as-is sale once a price is agreed upon. Let's say you guys go back and forth a few times and the seller finally arrives at a price. They say, look, it's lower than I want to go, but if you give me an as-is sale, I'll do the deal. So, here's the problem. In a seller's market, buyers are finding creative ways to still get a good deal. So even though a contract might have language written into it that says as-is sale, quote unquote, in most cases, that buyer still has the right to ask for repairs once the home inspection is completed. So all you've done by simply writing as-is language into the contract is essentially set the precedent that the seller won't agree to any repairs at that price. Well, unfortunately for the seller, buyers are still asking for those repairs. They're smart. They're waiting for you, the seller, to get excited enough about the prospect of moving and to try and rope you into the idea that this deal is done. And so you've told your friends that you're moving and you've gone home shopping. And in some cases, you've potentially put another home under contract with a home sale contingency, which, we can talk about next show. But now the buyer thinks that they have you kind of backed into a corner, and they say something like, look, I know we agreed to an as-is sale, but there were things that we found on that inspection report that we're not okay with. So either the seller needs to fix them, or we're going to walk and we're going to get our earnest money back. And so this is why writing contracts correctly is so important. So as a seller, what do? I mean, you risk losing the deal and the house you've just put under contract because you don't want to make the repairs. I mean, is that something you really wanted to? I mean, that's obviously a function of how motivated you are to move. But again, this is where writing that contract and the language within it is vital. So most buyers just they're not going to agree to just waive their rights to a home inspection. I will tell you that I bought a property 6 years ago. It's the only time in all of my contracts for purchasing property personally or from helping other people purchase property that I have not done a home inspection, excluding new construction. And even most new construction homes, we get inspections on because they always find something. It's very interesting. But the one property that I bought that did not have a home inspection, I got hit over the head with a bunch of stuff that I didn't think was an issue. And it was, and it cost me. Having said that, I probably still would have bought the property because it was such a good deal. And that's the only reason why I agreed to waive the home inspection. It was a bank-owned home. It was a multiple offer deal. I offered them a cash price. They took it. I said, I won't do an inspection and I will close in 14 days. And they went for it. And don't get me wrong, I'm very happy with the purchase. It messed up my numbers just a little bit. And we're going to talk about that next, actually. We're going to talk about making sure your numbers are in order if you're going to buy an investment property, especially if you're going to be flipping a property. So the buyers in this market, they're not going to waive their right to do a home inspection. I mean, I just learned of a friend that bought a home through another real estate agent, and they were talked into waiving the home inspection to buy it as is. First-time home buyer. He closed on the home. A week later, found out the entire AC system needed to be replaced. He also found out there's a plumbing leak under the house that's caused damage to subflooring and floor joists. And there were electrical issues. All these things were way above the buyer's understanding, which is why he should have absolutely gotten a home inspection. He thought he was getting a decent deal when in reality it was only a few percentage points off of fair market value. But by the time he has to make all these repairs, he's way in the hole now. So one way around kind of being taken advantage of in this instance is to state in the contract that if a buyer agrees to buy the home in as-is condition, they can still do a home inspection, but if they decide to back out of the deal for some reason, they have to relinquish some or all of their earnest money. I mean, if we're going to say as is, and then you're going to come back to me and ask me for repairs, that wasn't what we agreed upon, so you're going to have to pay for that. That's my takeaway, or my suggestion, rather. And that, that might scare off the buyer, but it's a way of holding their feet to the fire so you can avoid the situation of agreeing to work with a buyer that's simply telling you what you want to hear with the full intention of asking for repairs no matter what. And obviously, if you're a buyer, take everything I just said into consideration and use it to your advantage. And remember, your agent needs to help you do whatever it takes ethically and legally to get you the best deal possible. And so loopholes are included in that. So if you're a buyer, you want to put as-is language in there, and then you want to go back to that seller and ask for repairs, and there's nothing in the contract that prevents you from doing so, go for it. Just know that you might, piss off that seller. It's gonna happen. They're not going to be happy when you come back to them and say, wait a minute, you said as-is sale. I know I said as-is sale, but you have problems with your house that I didn't think were going to be an issue, and I'm not going to purchase this home and make $8,000 worth of repairs. That's not what I signed up for. So we need to find some common ground here. And now as a seller, again, just to kind of repeat myself here, if someone's going to say as is on their contract, and that's all it says, that doesn't mean anything. That's not enforceable. If they put as is, it's not enforceable because the contract states that they still have the right to do the home inspection. And if they provide you with a list of repairs and you don't agree to them, they have the right to back out of the deal and get their earnest money back. So my suggestion is if you have a home that needs work and you need to sell it, and we are under the expectation that we will be selling as is, look, we know that we're not going to be able to sell it for fair market value because there are issues with the home. And if you don't have the money to fix it, we've got to give that buyer a little bit of a buffer for the unknowns that are going to be uncovered as they're renovating that house. Always happens. That inspectors can't go behind walls. They can't cause any sort of damage or move obstructions to determine what's going on with the house. They can only see what they can see and report the issues. So as a seller, if we're selling an as-is house, we need a very firm game plan, and we need to understand that when that as-is contract comes in, we have to be very specific about the way that it's written for your protection. Again, the buyer's not going to waive their right to do a home inspection unless you're giving it to them for such a ridiculous deal that you've just kind of put your hands up in the air and you're saying, I don't really care to walk away from this property and feel good about how much money I'm making. I just have to sell it today. And if that's the case, I can tell you right now that I have a group of investors that will make you an immediate cash offer. And frankly, I might be one of them. But if you're going to sell your home as is and you need to capture as much of that money as you can from the sale, you just don't have the ability or the time to fix it up, then let's talk about that, because those sales aren't the easiest. It excludes some types of buyers with regards to financing. An FHA or VA buyer, somebody getting an FHA or a VA loan, they're not going to be able to buy your home if you've got a bunch of issues with it. The bank just won't allow them to do it. So you're looking at people that are putting a large percentage down or paying cash for your home. So you've got less buyers, but you do have some opportunity to capture more money than you might think you could have, even in an as-is sale. It's just on a case-by-case basis. So if that's you, if you're listening and you have a home that you need to sell, and you either have a small budget for repairs or you don't have a budget at all, let's talk about where to spend your money wisely. Let's see if there's any sweat equity you can put into the home that will help you sell it for more, and let's come up with a game plan to get you from point A to point B. So if you'd like to do that, feel free to give me a call. My number is 843-345-1273. Again, that's 843-345-1273, or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. We've got a few minutes left here on the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Stick around as the show continues right here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA.
Find Brian Beatty online at listingsincharleston.com. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues next on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA.
WTMA.
Now, the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues on Charleston's Big Talker 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, Charleston, to the last few minutes of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. I'm Brian Beatty. Thanks for joining me this morning as we've been talking about real estate. We've covered a variety of topics, but the last thing I want to talk about is investment properties and flipping homes. It's something that I have a lot of experience in. I've done it multiple times myself. I've coached, dozens of people through it. And it's something that I truly enjoy. I think it's a great way to diversify your income if you've got some extra money and the ability and the know-how to get into a real estate investment, upgrade it, turn it around, make some money, and move on with your life. It really can be profitable, but you have to know what you're doing, because it's a great way to also lose your you-know-what. You have to be careful. You have to be prepared. You have to know what you're doing. And frankly, I think you need to be working with a real estate agent that can coach you through these steps. Even if you're a seasoned investor, you still need somebody that's going to market that property for you once it's done being renovated so that you can sell it for the most money possible. So just in general, let me tell you a little bit about the real estate market right now as it relates to investors. It's fairly saturated. I mean, we've got a lot of investors with a variety of different skills and varying degrees of knowledge. But again, it's very hard for them to accomplish anything without the help of an experienced realtor, unless they're very seasoned and they know what a really good deal is. They know how much it's going to cost to renovate it, and they know how much they can sell it for and how much time that's going to take. Then you need to align yourself with somebody that can help fill in the blanks. And so there's this interesting dynamic in Charleston right now, because we also have very serious investors that are local, regional, and national that are here in Charleston. I mean, American Homes for Rent. I don't know how many homes they own at this point. It's several hundred. But what I want to give you with this short amount of time that I have is a rehab checklist of sorts, if you will. And so there's a number of ways you can go about controlling your rehab project and the amount you spend. So here's a little checklist that I've used in the past with some of my clients, and I've used it for myself. It's really more general knowledge to make sure that you're staying on track, you're staying on point. So the first thing is to use a budget. Really good investors have a spreadsheet that has identified how much certain things cost. Of course, every project is going to be a little bit different, but it gives you a realistic idea of, all right, if I need new windows, it's going to cost this much. If I need a new roof, it should cost this much. If I'm going to paint, it's this much per square foot. If I'm going to refinish the flooring, it's $2 a square foot. Those types of things need to be built into an Excel spreadsheet. There are several of them out there. I think if you go online and search for them, I'm sure you can find one. If you'd like one, I can provide it to you. Just go to listingsincharleston.com. My website, that's listingsincharleston.com. Click on the contact page and I'll send you what I have, which is fairly inclusive. Second thing, which is kind of common sense, or at least you'd think it would be, is to get multiple estimates. I mean, in the beginning of your rehab, it's a good idea to talk to multiple people with multiple subcontractors like electricians and plumbers, painters, finished carpenters, so on and so forth, to help you get a feel for how much each part of your rehab will cost. So, I mean, as a general rule of thumb, you're supposed to get 3 estimates. And as you gain more and more experience about house flipping, you'll start to be able to estimate how much each part of this rehab may be. And so maybe you're doing some of that work on your own. You're going to identify what your skill set is and what you can do versus what you're going to need to sub out. You should also take into consideration that if you hire a general contractor with a bunch of subcontractors and you give them multiple pieces of business, they might cut you a little bit of a break, as opposed to you, the investor, acting as a general contractor and then hiring each individual person for a specific job. The third thing that I always coach people on is to get final checks on the cost of repairs. I mean, after you get your estimates and you finalize your scope of work, which is what it's called, you need to go through the timeline and the game plan for completion. So a few tips on that would be things like accountability. You know, you have to do everything in your power to hold all of your subcontractors accountable for the prices they originally gave you. I mean, nothing is worse for your profits than an under-budgeted repair item that just blows your budget out of the water. Another thing that I would say would be the final walkthrough. I mean, when you do a final walkthrough with your subcontractor, you make sure that everything is the way that you want it to be. And you should withhold payment until everything is done and the last drip of paint is on the wall. The third thing I'll say as it relates to making some final checks on the cost of repairs is that you have to budget for unforeseen repairs, in my opinion. You have to add a little bit of a buffer to your numbers for unforeseen expenses. Obviously, the less surprises, the better, but I haven't flipped a property yet where I didn't run into at least one surprise. It depends on the scale of your project, but if you're doing a major rehab, you better believe there are going to be things in there that you didn't take into consideration. And then the fourth thing, and this is really kind of straightforward here, is but you've got to set a timeline for completion. I mean, as soon as you have your budgets and your costs finalized with your subcontractors, now is the time to finalize your time frame for completion. So remember that whether you're just learning how to flip houses or you've been flipping houses for 20 years, the less time you spend between the purchase and the sale, the more money you make. So here are a few things that I can give you within that. Subcontractor meetings. Whenever possible, you need to get all your subs together and have a meeting to review the entire schedule of repairs. In this meeting, you should discuss the best order for all the subs to work together in order for the project to go as smoothly as possible. My dad just renovated a condo on the Isle of Palms, and they were behind budget. They were behind schedule and over budget. Now, granted, it was an upscale renovation. Sometimes that happens. Part of it had to do with the choices my dad made. Part of it had to do with just lack of organization. And so what they did in the final 30 days is they put up pictures on each wall and a schedule on each wall that the subcontractors had to check off. So they had a very strict timeline on when they were to arrive, when they were to leave, what they were going to get accomplished. Now, he's not flipping it. He's using it for his own personal enjoyment. But if you're flipping it, especially if you have a mortgage, longer it takes, the more it costs, which is why speed is key. I mean, when you're flipping the house, faster is better. Don't cut corners. I mean, get the job done right, but get it done as soon as possible. The main idea here is your house should be flipping, hopefully, within 90 days or less, from the time you buy it till the time you get paid for it. That gives you about 30 days for renovation, 2 or so weeks on the market, under contract, and closed. I mean, realistically, you could be doing 4 flips a year with the same amount of money that you initially started with the ability to stuff that profit in your pocket. Now, of course, you could just do more expensive flips each time and use your return to buy more expensive properties. But let's say you want to flip a $150,000 house. Well, if you do it really well and your beginning and end is only a 90-day cycle, you could do that same $150,000 house 4 times, 4 different areas, and quadruple your profit. That's why speed is key. That's why having a game plan is so important. And I've helped a lot of people do it, and I've done it myself. So if that's something I can help you with, you're curious to learn more about that, feel free to give me a call. My number is 843-345-1273. Again, that's 843-345-1273. And of course, go to my website, listingsincharleston.com for more information on myself, my real estate team. We're always here to answer your questions, whether they be general in nature or, of course, if you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate. So listingsincharleston.com is the website. Thank you so much, Charleston. Enjoy your weekend, and thanks for tuning in to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA.
Join us for another edition of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show next Saturday morning at 9 and Sunday morning at 10. Contact Brian Beatty online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com.